Bullet Train is directed by David Leitch and stars Brad Pitt, Aaron Taylor Johnson, Brian Tyree Henry, and among others. And in this story, it deals with, well, basically a group of assassins are essentially trying to go after this briefcase, and they're all intertwined and running across each other, and basically on whoever gets it around it. And it kind of gets a little convoluted as there's more twists and turns that come out as it follows primarily Brad Pitt's character, who's the unlucky assassin that's basically caught into all this, just trying to get out the train and trying to get the briefcase, along with the other assassins that are involved with trying to get it before he does. And now here's a little backstory. Now this movie was directed by David Leitch, who I've become an avid fan of ever since he directed the first Deadpool. The first John Wick film. He was one of the directors of that movie, and he also directed Deadpool 2. And he's actually really been known for being a stunt coordinator on a lot of movies in the past. And I could really tell that the guy has a lot of good style because coming from being a stunt work guy and going into directing stuff is a whole new level that he's tagged with a lot of these different movies, especially with Atomic Blonde and with when he didn't direct it, but he produced last year's Nobody. So I could see a lot of the style that he's I can see a lot of the stuff that he's really into when it comes to keeping it with real stunts and action sequences in a lot of movies and everything. And I was really looking forward to this movie ever since I saw the trailers of it. And what I also heard was that it was based on a book. I haven't read the book, but I heard that they did make some changes that kind of got some controversy that came out. I haven't really read much of the book, so I can't really compare it. But just going into the movie as its own kind of action movie and stuff, it got me really interested. And after upon seeing the film, I can say this was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed this movie a lot. To get my pros out of the way, I really enjoyed the cast in this, especially Brad Pitt. It was cool seeing Brad Pitt playing a different type of assassin in this because he is really good when he does comedy pretty well. And while we've seen him in other movies where he's played, the kind of badass approach that you would expect from him, like in Inglourious Basterds, Fury, and just a lot of other movies that he's known for were having, that kind of really cool presence to him. But there are a lot of movies that he's done in the past I've really admired that it shows a lot of his comedic skills, including Burn After Reading. He also had, a couple years ago, he had Once Upon a Time in Hollywood and all that. So him playing this kind of down on his luck kind of, really kind of more of a pacifist kind of assassin was very, a different character for him to play, and he really nailed it quite well. And a lot of the banter that he's going back and forth with a lot of the other characters, especially around Aaron Taylor Johnson and along with everyone else, it had me going quite a while and left a huge smile on my face. And the rest of the cast is really great too, especially the two other biggest standouts are definitely Brian Tyree Henry and Aaron Taylor Johnson. I thought these two characters, they go by Lemon and Tangerine, and basically they're these two guys that are pretty much trying to get a hold of the briefcase, and there's some other twists and turns that lead to reveal where they're connected to something else that's higher up and all that. But let's just say that they have this running gag that goes along that has to deal with Thomas the tank engine. And while it did get pretty overdone throughout the movie, and it did kind of get old after a while, for the most part I still enjoyed their chemistry really well, and I thought that they had a lot of fun with each other. And I really do like the way that they play off each other along with the other characters as well. And so they were great. Then you also had some other interesting appearances that they showcase in this movie that I was actually really kind of surprised they got away with. Not going to go into detail, but there's some surprise appearances in this that I didn't really expect much. I did unfortunately get a little spoiled because some of the trailers did reveal some big names that were in it. But then I did accidentally read on some of the other cast members that are in this, so I kind of shot myself in the foot by reading some of the other cast that were in it. But when seeing the appearances of other people that come on screen, it got me. It did have some really funny moments that came on, and it had me kind of really surprised at times. And what I really enjoyed the way what this movie does too is I like the way that the movie kind of has a very farce. Well, it mixes a lot of action, but it's mostly used as comedy too, because there's a style that they use it with certain ensemble comedies that they use called farce. And one of the biggest ones that comes to mind that I heard that gets a lot of that is a movie from way back in the day called It's a Mad, 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 Mad World, or Rat Race, where it's everyone that's trying to essentially get well, basically you can call it a MacGuffin, but it's more of just a plot device that basically connects all of them. The way that they do, where all of them connector and stuff with this briefcase, it's just really find myself really enjoying these kind of plots when they go on. And it also reminds me in a good way with Smoking Aces, because Smoking Aces was like that too, where every one of the assassins and everyone is going after one guy and stuff like that. So I do appreciate that they were able to bring back that kind of style of action and comedy that I hadn't seen in a while, and I really like the twists and turns that they end up bringing along with, especially when we get to some later dark stuff that's revealed in the movie. And some of the other things I really got to enjoy too is the action scenes are really blew it out of the water. Like David Leitch is already known for doing great action with the first John Wick and Deadpool 2 and all that. And here it's no different. The fight scenes are really well choreographed. You can tell that they're really trying to pay focus a lot with more of the stunt work and stuff. And there are some really bloody and really grotesque stuff that you kind of expect in these kind of action movies, and it really works. And the cinematography and the setting as well, especially with it being set primarily on the train, really works and gives it, I don't want to say a claustrophobic feel, but it really makes it seem like it's a lot more focused and trying to keep things at a lot more, grounded, so to speak, where we're at with our characters. And one of the other things too I got to appreciate is I really enjoyed the score, the soundtrack in this too, especially hearing like remixes of Staying Alive and I Will Survive and all that stuff. Really great stuff. Now, if I do have any kind of minor complaints, I will say that some of the storytelling in the beginning, some of the editing can be a little cluttered at times because they're trying to pinpoint like so much plot that's going along. But as the movie went along and as things were trying to slow down, it was cool to see that everything was coming together a lot more smoothly. However, I do kind of have some issues because they do bring in some characters where they kind of give you like some quick backstories about them, but that's really about it, and they're really not in it as much as you think of when they actually bring these characters on screen. So that is one of my kind of little minor issues, is that you're not really getting enough of like some of the characters that they fill in that they make a big deal out of at a certain point. But for the most part, I appreciate the fact that each of the characters were trying to at least have their own spill on things, and the way that they were fleshed out throughout the movie and stuff. And that is kind of like it's kind of mixed with me with that, because while I do like the whole I don't want to say Tarantino-esque, but the very kind of like pulpy type of like Tarantino, Shane Black, kind of like Guy Ritchie type dialogue. I think for the most part it does work, but there are times where not every joke lands really well. And like I said with that earlier running gag, it does with the Thomas the Tank Engine. It does kind of feel like it's, it has a payoff, but I didn't really find it that funny as it went along because it did kind of get old after a while. And then there's some other stuff too where there's characters that not characters, but there's some other noticeable action scenes that are pretty cringy at times because there's some pretty noticeable CGI that looks pretty bad. But for the most part, I was still able to kind of bypass that, as the movie did really have a lot of great stuff that had me going for a while. But with that being said, I had a blast with this movie, and it was if anything, it definitely is one of the most entertaining films of the year for me. I don't know if I would say it's one of the best movies, because it does have its issues here and there with some stuff that kind of holds it back. And there are some things in the writing that does kind of hold it back just a little bit. But for the most part, I had a blast with it a lot. And with that, I'm going to give the movie a very high compelling grade on the Film Freaks meter. So, for those of you who've also seen Bullet Train, let me know in the comments below what you thought about it. And thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in my next review. I'll see you later.